What's up, everybody? How you doing? This is halfway to Sunday. We're from One Shot Church, and we have some special guests here with us again. And what we do is, Christians live from Sunday to Sunday, but what happens in real life in between there? And we're going to have some of those conversations. Tonight is definitely going to be an impactful and important one. My name is Shayun, and sitting next to me is...
Rodrigo. No, my name is Rodney. Don't we're gonna have some fun. But my name is Rodney, and I'm the lead pastor of One Shot Church. Believe it or not, I am mature sometimes, and I can be serious. And I love the Lord. But we have three lovely ladies sitting next to us, and I want them to introduce themselves to you guys. We'll start with this lovely lady with the micro twisted dreads. Come on, they're not micro.
They is, but it's okay.
Look, she said they. She said they is. All right, we already getting raw now. When we start talking like that, they is.
Yeah, I am not putting on my professional voice tonight.
No.
It's not happening. But I'm Dawn.
And my name rhymes with that. I am Sean.
And my name does not rhyme with that. I'm Miss Tammy.
Miss Tammy.
I don't know. I almost felt like we should have done an icebreaker, but maybe we should just jump right into it, Brother Rodney. What you thinking?
Whatever you want. What do y'all want? Do y'all want to jump right on into it?
Yes,
Y'all
let's
wanna act
go.
silly for a little bit?
I mean, it's up to y'all.
All right.
Let's jump right into it then. Brother Rodney, we are going to be talking tonight about dating. Christians are funny with that word, whether you use courtship, whatever you might use. So we don't know if you are a Christian, if you're not a Christian. There's some things that go on in the church that make things a little bit more complicated. But this is ladies' night. So us guys, we're going to try and shut up and really let them share with you what's going on for real. But the first thing we really wanted to ask was this. When you think about singleness, the one question we could have asked was like, you guys' status. You can share as much or as little as you would like about your relationship status, how you would define yourself. If you were to set up a Christian Mingle account, what you might put on there, anything like that. But the first question, and you can share any of that other stuff in there, we're going to ask this. Do you see singleness as a blessing or a burden?
I'll start off. Everyone's looking. Since I've been probably single longer than the rest of y'all. So I see where it has its plus and minuses. There are times where I really, really think that it is a blessing because of just responsibility. For being a single person, you are really just taking care of yourself. I can go to work. I can come home, and if I don't feel like cooking, I don't have to cook. I could just chill. But then there's the flip side where it can be feel like it's a burden because you can deal with loneliness. At times, you are coming home, but you're not coming home to someone for that companionship, and so it can go either way. But I think that's where you having your community comes in. So that you are able to share a space when you want to share a space. Mm-hmm. So it can go either way.
I'll speak for me in particular. I do define myself right now as single. To me, I'm just like till I'm engaged, married, like I'm single. And so honestly, for speaking for myself, in the past however many years, I haven't been single. I've always had some sort of backup. I've had plan B. I've had like a side, whatever. I've had somebody like creeping
with
up,
a biscuit
like,
on the side.
Yeah, like we done, but it's just like, oh well, he might be sitting up here like, all right, well, what you talking about? Let me see. But at this point, in all honesty, it's 2020 now, but in 2019, I definitely feel like I dealt with singleness for the first time, just as an adult. And before, when I saw it as a burden, I actually saw it last year as a complete blessing. It really just having the time to myself and figuring out like there's a lot about myself that I don't know. And I've been with and around a lot of different people, and I haven't taken the time to just be like, God, who am I? Like, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do outside of a relationship, outside of talking to somebody? It was nice to have like the slower pace and just be on my own and appreciate just the quiet time. So I I definitely saw it pretty much in 2019 when I was confronted with it as a blessing. So, yeah.
I think for me, it depends on the day. But I would like to change the word from, at least for me, from it being a burden to being something I didn't think I would be in at this point in my life.
Why is that? Unpack that. Why does that mean something to you?
With age, and just, I guess, the environment. Like, most of my friends are married. Most of my friends have kids. So, naturally, as you grow older, you at least for me, I see myself not being single. But the older I get, the more single I get. But it also is a blessing. Like with Miss Tammy said, like, I do have a lot of freedoms that my friends don't have. There are times where, I spend time with my friends that have kids, and it's just like, ooh, I'm glad I ain't gotta do that. Like,
Birth control.
I'm going
Free.
like, I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh, you gotta, get that baby ready for sleep. When I go home, I don't know.
Right.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I might go to bed. I might fix myself a snack.
That's right.
Like, I don't, so it really depends on the day.
Right.
But I think I've come to the point where I don't feel like it's a burden. And even though I do have that thought of this is not where I saw my life, I'm appreciating what I'm learning about myself in this time and enjoying new things. Like, a lot of new things come to me that I can enjoy as a single.
And then briefly before we move on, like, I don't know, I guess the question is, have you experienced this? And if you have, how have you dealt with it? Have you felt people looking at you like something's wrong with you? Like, ooh, girl, you still single? Or, ooh, girl, what's going on? Like, how have you dealt with that external pressure, or maybe people even trying to be sympathetic? Like, ooh, baby. It's like,
So that's funny because I had a Christmas event and people were just talking, and I don't remember the conversation completely, but I remember the one person like, yeah, because once you get over 30 and you ain't married, it's got to be something wrong with you. And I was just like, well, I mean, I think I'm
Yo, mama.
I think I'm okay. Like, I don't think I'm crazy. I'm pretty sure that, I'm not perfect, but I don't think I'm crazy. Just, okay. So, I've experienced stuff like that. Or even in my family, like, my family don't say anything, but I know I can tell they're like, oh, you still single? Okay. And like, when I was younger, I used to bring, guys around when I was dating, and now it's just gone. So like, even in my mind, sometimes I'm like, do they think do they think I'm gay? Like, like, for real, like,
That's
'cause
a
they be
real,
looking
it's
funny,
2020,
like,
you know?
they
2020.
they be looking like, okay, you don't want to get married, you don't have kids, okay.
But that's
so,
gotta add another layer of pressure.
yeah,
you know?
well, it used to, but now I just be looking at them like,
Dawn is special. She has the gift of not caring.
I do. I look them right in the eye like,
I want that gift too.
what's your point?
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Right. I think it's circumstantial. I mean, in certain circles, you might feel like, and in others, you're like, I'm good. So for me in my life last year, we in my family, we're pretty, like, my mom, dad, sisters are pretty much a tight unit, as y'all know. And my older sister, Sydney, got married. My younger sister is pretty tight with her boyfriend. And so the running joke for me last year was like, my whole invisible boo. Like, because anytime we got together, Sunday grilling, like things like that, mom and dad booed up, like, this is our story about us and our, like, we love each other so much. And it's just like, my younger sister, and they're doing well, kind of like going to college together. Sorry, that's probably my phone. My bad. And then, my oldest sister getting married and having such, to me, a cool love story. At certain times last year, it wasn't projected on me by other people. I'd have to say it really wasn't. I think as a single woman, I think naturally sometimes when those things happen, you'll just feel those kind of innate pressures a little bit. Like my sister's getting married, my best friend's getting married, like one of my closest friends is your wife. And when, you guys have 4 children and I haven't felt pressure to have babies. When I come over to your house, I love your children, but it's free birth control for me. I'll be like, this is
Yes, it
like,
is.
hey, I love y'all, but I can go home and be like,
Praise God.
But then it's just like this year when it's closer to home, it's kind of just like, I wonder when this is going to happen for me. You see things happening for the people close to you, and it's just like, okay, I kind of feel like I'm a little bit of the outlier. Like, did I do something that was so different from my sisters? And if so, what was it? So for me, I'll say it wasn't anything that I feel like anybody else imposed onto me. I just feel like when you're kind of in those certain circles, you inherently kind of just feel that like, okay, what's my trajectory? What's the timeline?
So
when is it going to happen?
External pressure. It's also an internal pressure. that
Yeah,
you put on
absolutely.
yourself.
Very much so.
It is.
Yeah.
And just to piggyback a little bit of what Sean was saying, when you have that struggle, on the inside, and so if you're feeling that pressure externally, it's something that you just kind of hold on to. Yes, you're going to think about, what is wrong with me? What's going on? Do I look okay? Do I need to do something with my hair? Do I need to change? Just change yourself. But there were some things where I just kind of went to God, and I just was just asking, what's up? What's going on? And there are times when God, He's got a plan for you, but I had to learn from me that I need to learn how to just submit to His plan and to trust Him. Because once I got that on the inside and just really trusted Him, it stopped me from going back and forth and just kind of wondering something was going on with me. And then it's like, you know what? There's purpose. There's a purpose here. So I had to change that mindset. But I will say, a lot of that was when I was probably in my 30s. Now that I'm over 30, I don't have that pressure, or at least I don't even feel that, or people just stop asking. They were like, okay, it's nothing for her now. She's gonna be like that for the rest of her life. But they have stopped asking. But I had that and had to deal with that when I was in my 30s.
And I was gonna that was kind of my next question. I was gonna ask, like, how do you deal, because I can't really speak to this as much because I was with my wife since I was 18, you know what I'm saying? So it's going on 13 years that, we've been together. So I've never really gotten a chance to live an adult life being single. But what do you do when you do feel the internal pressure? Like, what do you do when you feel the loneliness and like, the discouragement? What do you do when you guys feel that?
I mean, for me, that's why I'm really big on community.
Yeah.
And, there was a time when, and you guys know, with some of my friends, we just were all single at that time and had, just different questions.
Y'all traveled.
We traveled, we had fun, it just was a time where we were able to, be able to talk to one another. Kind of encourage one another, because there are different triggers depending on wherever you are and what setting that you're in, and we all got hit at different times, but we were there for one another to kind of help bring each other up. So I do believe community is so key. It's not good for you to just kind of sit and isolate yourself. That is something that singles can so easily do.
Wow.
Because it's like you can get in your own little cave and just be at home and just soak there, and just like, I don't want to be bothered. It's so easy to do that. So you have to push yourself to get out there, push yourself to make sure that you stay in community so that you're not staying down, low. I would go to God, and not to be churchy or anything like that, but just to have worship music on, praise music to kind of, if I was really, really low,
Put your attention, your thoughts on it.
I had to take my mind off, because you're on yourself and you're thinking about future, but in a negative way. And so therefore I was like, I need to get my mind and change it and get it on God to help me can get through.
Mhm. Excuse me. I definitely agree with that. I think again, the past year was a very defining year for me in terms of my singleness and actually, you know, learning that just because you're single doesn't have to equate to loneliness. And I moved last year and I moved by myself in my own place. We were just talking about
Yeah.
this where, it's really easy. I love my home. I'm a homebody. So it's just like when I leave work, it's just second nature. I just go home and it's just like I don't need for anybody to come over. I'm good by myself. It's nice to have invitations and all that. And it feels good to have those invitations. But most of the time I'm like, yeah, like thanks for the invitation, but nah, I'm good. You know what I mean? However, I think community is so very important, and that's one of the things that I learned to capitalize on last year. It felt a little bit weird at first because some of the ways that life has changed for me, some of the closest people I've had are just delving into their marriages and like having more children and things like that. And I used to spend a lot of time, and change has never been that comfortable for me, especially when it comes to relationships and having to, navigate as people change and go deeper in their relationships with other people, Um, so I think last year I saw how important it was to actually spend time with other single ladies,
It is.
like,
Mhm.
and really just kind of really actually invest into each other. Do things
Yeah.
if it's like, hey, I have this going on. There's this endeavor. This is what I want to do next weekend. This is something that I'm focusing on right now. It's like, all right, even if I don't want to, I haven't been that great about responding and going out, but I'm going to really push myself to do that because I need to like build community. I actually need to build relationships with other people in my life and make sure that they're also not feeling like they're alone or lonely and things like that. So I definitely, just a caveat, that's a big deal to me as well.
So yeah, I agree with the community aspect. But one of the things that I really try to do is do the things that I enjoy. So if I'm, feeling down, yeah, but other stuff like, I'm a wanderer, so like, and I love to find different coffee shops. So like, I'll look for a different coffee shop to go to, and I'll just go and I'll be there, or whatever it is, like So for me on my journey, it has been very important to just be me, and not be afraid to do things by myself. Like sometimes I have to, not be by myself because I am getting to the point where it is I'm comfortable being by myself. But sometimes, like you said, like other singles may be feeling lonely, invite them, into those spaces.
Right.
So that's something I'm working on. But yeah, it's very important for me to create that space that's safe for me.
Yeah.
That I can come out of that, maybe that little funk or something that I may be going through,
Yeah, no, I think it's dope. You guys are dropping nuggets and gems all along, especially for any single ladies that may be going through anything similar. I'm sure they can all relate to you. But it's a new year, 2020. So now what we want to ask, a little transition here. What would you say the dating scene is like right now in 2020? Is it hard? Is people hitting you up on Facebook? Like what would, if you had to describe your interaction with the dating scene currently in these times, any thoughts that come to mind?
I want to go first. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel like, okay, well, I'll speak for myself. I have taken a big step back from social media because I feel like for me, like at this point, I really am trying to focus on figuring out who is Sean. And so for me, the type of person that I am being on social media, and it's easy. I mean, we all might go through this, but I'll speak for myself. It's a big distraction. I'll look at things and I'll be like, yo, I won't even be like, hey, this, maybe this isn't the be all end all.
People.
Well, things and people. And I'll be like, I'll be caught up real quick. I'll just be like, Lord, how do I just start to really compare.
How can
you
you
know what I mean?
discover Sean if you're constantly breaking Sean down based upon what you're saying.
Exactly. And so for me, having taken a big step back from social media, I'm not really, I don't really hear from people. Like, nobody's sliding in my DMs. Like, I'm not posting anything. I'm not doing that much. So, and even when I was, I don't really feel like that happened for me that much. But I feel like that's a big way sometimes for people to get some hits.
That comparison can make it tough though, because you're constantly sizing yourself up based upon the images you see in other relationships.
Absolutely, it could be hard, and I'll speak to I'll speak to some of my previous relationships. I just felt like it was kind of hard, especially when you're outside of a very secure relationship where it's just like, okay, you're not like, look, y'all know me.
Be honest, girl.
My dad's a very secure man. And so he raised 3 very secure daughters. And we got like real good heads on our shoulders, you know what I mean? And past relationships I've been in, social media was a huge like factor. Seeing people like, why he putting a heart? Why he put who that? Like, what's he doing? Blah blah blah. I'm like, look, why I gotta break it down like this, you know? But it's tough, and for me, I really didn't like being on social media in a relationship. Not because I felt like I had something to hide, just because I feel like everybody takes it in a different way. And so I hated it. I felt like, okay, well, I might as well, I don't want to be on it anymore. If it comes to the fact where you feel like with people saying hello, hi, dropping heart smiley faces, like I don't do nothing. It's just a thing, you know?
It's a whole nother language.
Yeah,
it's interpretation.
It really is. And so being in past relationships where there may not have been that whole thing of security there for in our relationship or for that person, it was tough for me. And so it was just like, I'd rather do away with it altogether because I don't want any type of like question or anything coming from stuff that really isn't reality. Yeah. We don't know what it is, but it's not our reality. So to me personally, I would rather not to say that it's not going to go away anytime soon, but it's really important to know who you are and have some sort of confidence in who you are, what you're doing, and just be purpurposeful about
being
why you're
willing
on.
To take a step back if you need to take a step back.
Absolutely. So that's just me.
So I don't do social media, even though I do have an IG account, but I got like 6 pictures. That's a whole nother thing. But I'm just not really into social media like that. So I don't get like slides in the DM.
Yeah.
But I have tried a couple dating sites.
It's okay, girl.
I don't care.
You said that all sheepishly.
No, it
like,
was. It wasn't. It didn't go. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go, Shane.
You showed up and Harry was like,
No. So I mean, it's you know, people put their best foot forward, you know, of course. So you're weeding through, you know. And I've met like some people that were okay, but you know, I've also met people that's just like, why am I here? You know, like, I mean, I met.
that's awkward too.
You know what? I'm so comfortable with myself. I just be like, how long I'm gonna stay here tonight? Because I'm about to get
I would
up
be
here.
tripping. I would be like, yo.
Oh no, no. So like, I met up with this one guy at a bar. But he was watching TV the whole time, and I'm trying to have a conversation with him, and he's watching TV.
You should have just said like, "Oh yeah, let me go ahead and use the restroom."
30 minutes. He was like 30 minutes. He was still working on something, and so it was like 30 minutes. I was like, "Bet I can go ahead and I can get on out of here, right?" So when I get home, he starts texting me, and I'm just like, "Hold on, like, one, you acted like you weren't interested." And now you giving me the conversation, but we couldn't even have a conversation when it was face to face. That was a problem for me. So stuff like that.
And that seems to be a new trend happening, by the way, like that face to face
Not being able
encounter.
to have.
No,
you
and
know,
it's really bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you deal with that, or you know, I know that you shouldn't be superficial or anything like that, but at the end of the day, like it's a social media platform still, and you're looking at pictures. So you'll have people, I have people messaging me and I'm just like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, and then to the point where I was just like, I'm done. Like, I don't even care no more. Like, Lord, I'm gonna keep, cause I'm very social. I do a lot of active things. So I'm just like, Lord, you just gonna have to put somebody in one of these places where I go because I can't do this. I cannot do this. This online
Social
live.
media.
I done met a guy. He had like 4 kids. And with 4 baby mamas, and I was just like, no.
Lord, there is a problem.
I know the Lord can help you, but you not for me.
Yeah.
I cannot do it. It's too many of them, and it just seemed like you're very irresponsible. So I'm just gonna just bow out. Yeah. So no, I mean it's hard out here.
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all hear that?
I would love to hear your perspective, Miss Tammy, because you've seen you've seen an evolution to some degree. You know what I'm saying? Of just dating and the process of dating and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I would wonder what your thoughts would be.
So, I've gone through different types of phases in my life.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time, I was on like the dating sites trying to, put myself out there, and
Black
then,
Planet, was that one of them?
Oh man, yeah, I mean,
Hey, that joke.
you got Christian Mingle, you got eHarmony, all of that stuff. Same profile
Black
picture for everything.
Hold on. Let me just go. eHarmony. I'm sorry. They make you fill out all them questions. Look, and
What
you
if eHarmony
still
wants
don't-
to sponsor us?
Well, not tonight, y'all.
My brother-in-law was about to pay for my subscription. I was like, just
Share.
go.
Tell him don't
It's
even
all
worry
right.
about it.
It's all right. I did. I was like, I'm good.
I'm
Kat.
good.
I'm good, bro. Thank you so
I'm
much.
good.
Save your money.
Go ahead.
No,
go
it was
ahead.
exhausting. All them questions. I'm like, I'm good.
And
Never
then
mind.
you answer all them questions and you still don't get good quality.
No.
But anyway, go ahead, Miss Sarah. Go ahead.
Hence, this is why we're still single.
Right, hey.
So to continue, like I said, there was different phases, and then I got to a point where I just poured myself into work, and I poured myself into my ministry and what I was supposed
Yeah.
to do, and I wasn't even thinking about dating at all. I have gotten to the point, it was like, you know what, if God's gonna do it, He's gonna do it.
Yeah.
He's just gonna do it. I'm just gonna go ahead, and follow Him. But then it got to a point, like I said, it's phases, like up and down. Then I got to a point, I was like, oh, you know what? Time is going by. I need to do something. I need to go ahead and do something. And, and I was just kind of not trusting God. I felt like I just wasn't trusting God, and still would go back out on those sites. And it's like, well, I'm gonna try one more time.
And it's not that the sites are bad. It's just that inside you're rushing something.
I knew I
Yeah.
was pushing, and it's a point of yielding to His timing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it wasn't my timing. It's His timing,
Mhm.
and you have to get that settled. Once I got that settled, I stopped just going out searching. I think it's okay to put yourself in positions so that you can be seen. I think that's fine, and I
Yeah.
think that you need to as a single person. But know your motive,
Yeah.
and know what you're really are supposed to be doing.
Be honest with yourself.
I'm at a point now. I'm not even looking. I don't put myself out there on any type of social media or anything like that. But there are a lot of different people who probably trying to help me out a little bit, and that's trying to set me up. And I don't mind. I'll go and I'll talk to somebody. But I'll tell you one thing. I know from the first time we meet, I'm like, no, he's not gonna work.
The discernment.
Discernment is
Amen.
sharp.
Okay.
Oh, Shabbat.
It's sharp, so it don't
Wasting
take
my
long.
time. Right.
It don't
Yeah.
take long. So, I'm just don't put myself out there like that. But, I'm open to meeting different people in different types of settings,
Yeah.
very natural, very organic.
Yeah.
I'm okay with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I did have a question. Do you have a? I have a question, because I know there's a lot of singles who have wrestled with this and probably still do. Have you ever done something stupid, like like we were just talking about, it's almost that rebound effect, like that recoil. Like you do get lonely, you do feel that pressure, and you just do something dumb. Like have you ever done that?
What? Brother Rod?
Explain.
I'm just saying, like let's
be real.
let's keep it as the young folks say, a 100, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you just get this desire? Like, okay, you know what I'm saying?
Let me say-
Halfway to Sunday.
say-
Cliff, give me some juice. Give me some juice. A booty call. A calling of the booty. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, let's just be honest. Like, you know, you have needs, you have desires, you have physical needs. And I think in church, we just, you know, we downplay that so much. And it's just like, you know, honestly, you guys can be as honest as you want to be. You can just be like, yeah, pass on that. Just amen. But is like, I'm throwing that over there to you somewhere, to you guys.
What's
I don't know what the question is.
The question is, let me tell you what the question
Form the
is.
question.
The question is, have you been so lonely that you called somebody that you know that can come give you a little something?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the
But
question.
or just, you know, like, okay, maybe you're entertaining okay, here we go, Rodney. Thank you, Holy Ghost.
Okay.
amen.
He's there. So, or have you entertained a relationship that you knew was pointless, but it was just like, yo, I'm just gonna play with this because I'm lonely. I'm feeling some pressure. Let's just play and have fun.
Sound effects? Yes.
All right.
And yes. Yes and yes.
So,
Oh.
go ahead.
I
You want to elaborate?
I didn't answer yes or no, but
Oh, you did not?
so I have entertained a relationship that I knew was pointless, but I haven't done the other. But I cannot say that I have not had the desire to. I just, you know, I account God for, you know, giving me the strength to not do so. But it has crossed my mind plenty of time because, you know, let's be real, like we live in a world that is freely available and everybody's doing it and the world makes it look like it's okay. So it's kind of like, I mean, I know I'm Christian, but I mean, everybody else doing it. So you do have those thoughts.
Yeah.
You do have those thoughts. And in those moments, it's not a need, but it is a want,
Yeah.
you know? Because I mean, one of the things that I truly do believe is that we do have those desires, but God has given us a spirit of discipline. And just because we have those desires does not mean that we
Yes.
have to indulge
Preach.
in those. But that you didn't ask that, but you.
No, that's
you know,
good.
it's-
That's good, Doc. That's good.
It's very easy to, you know, say, hold on, what's his number? You know, it's very easy. You know, it's very easy in the world that we live in.
Yeah.
You know?
And briefly too, I just think there's value in us hearing from you guys' perspective because I don't know if you would think this is you would agree with this statement or not, but I think guys are persistent in like throwing out the opportunity of sex or little sly
absolutely.
hints like, "Hey, girl, you know," and it's like whether you're a Christian in church or not,
Yeah.
there might be guys in the church that talk better game than guys outside. So either way,
Yeah.
but it's just kind of like what nuggets or tips or how do you navigate and keep your strength up when you know there's guys who are persistently either trying to take you in a relationship that's pointless or they're offering sex in a sly way, in a straight up way, or whatever. Like, what have you learned in navigating your single walk as to how to get through that?
And what would you tell? Like, what would you tell single women specifically? How would you encourage them in that way?
Well, I'll say this because, I was in a relationship that I knew that was not gonna, go anywhere, and was in it for quite a while, probably longer than what I wanted to stay. And with that relationship, I compromised, to the point where I knew it wasn't me. And it wasn't something that, I, wanted and did things that I probably would have never thought that I would do. And the thing about it is there are times where, for a single person, you want to hear somebody say, I love you. You want to have somebody to, hold you. You want to be able to have that type of just, intimacy, there. So when that guy is, he's saying all that, you're taking it hook and sinker, and you're like, okay, all right, and you praying, maybe Lord, you do something for this guy, but that's not who God has for you. But one thing that I can say with that type of relationship, at some point you get burnt. You do get burnt. Now all you have to do is get burnt one time, and then you're like, and for me anyway. And it was a long time, but I was burnt to the point where I did not want to put myself in that type of situation ever again. So for that single person, you do have to, you got to love yourself.
Yep.
You have to love yourself. You have to know that God loves you so much that you are the apple of his eye. When you have that, you're not out looking for something and just being able to just compromise and give yourself to anyone. At that point, you know who you are, and it doesn't matter how smooth the words are that man is saying, you're not going to fall for anything. And just being able, like Ronnie said earlier, you have that discernment. You got to know who's really there for you, or if they're really there to just take from you. Are they just there just to take? So, love gives, love sacrifices. Is this person sacrificing, with a booty call? They're not sacrificing. That's it. That's it.
That ain't really a sacrifice.
It sure ain't.
No, that ain't really a sacrifice.
They get something out of it.
I get what a whole gallon, 2 gallons, 3,
Sure,
a
they
tank.
might even
Yeah.
walk to get it.
Huh?
Let's be real.
How far is the journey?
I ain't got no gas.
I will
Let
get
me
on
the
the
walking.
scooter
Let me
and
get
make
the
my
walking.
way to the promised
Yeah,
land.
they be man, yeah. But I want to piggyback off of Miss Sammy. When you love yourself and when you're in community with God, when they try to spit that game, you like get out of here. Like it's so easy for you to be like, nah, I'm good. Like I already know you not what I want. It's very easy. It's when I think it's important for especially women, like when you are feeling like that, sometimes you got to step away or get into community because it is very easy for like when you're feeling lonely or you're feeling like, insecure about yourself, it's easy for those men to come and take you down a road that you're not supposed to go. And a lot of times, like women sometimes think that, oh no, I'm good. But all it takes is the one yes for you to be in a situation that you're not supposed to be in, and for you to be in a situation that way longer than you were supposed to even be in.
Yeah.
So I just that making sure that you love yourself before like you even try to entertain that, because you need to really be careful. You need to guard your heart.
Yeah.
You really do, because it's very easy.
I agree with all of the above, and I think as someone, I answered yes because I have acted on just loneliness or just feeling like I don't really care. I know that I'm alone and I'd rather just have a good time, and I have been like, okay, pulled somebody from the past, way past that I was just like, you have no business pulling this guy. But that at some point they persistence, the door is open. So at any point when you're like, nah, I'm good. The second that you reach back and you're like, what's up? It's just like, I'm down the slide. Like, just let me know what time and where. You know what I mean? And so I think in thinking about it, the key word is like vulnerability. And it's okay to be vulnerable. We think about that word and just like, okay, we don't want to be vulnerable. Like, okay, when we are, yes, there are people that will take full advantage of your vulnerability. They'll see that and they'll be like, yeah, I'll capitalize on that 100%. Okay, so there's that on that side. Cool. But by the same token, like, I'm thinking about it now, and when you're comfortable in yourself, you know, this is who I am, this is what I'm struggling with, this is where I am. Guess what? At the same time, you can use that vulnerability and tell somebody like, yo, I'm horny today, sis. Like, I don't know what it is. It's that time of month.
That's such a good point because I mean,
that's real.
That doesn't
real life.
Yeah.
Real life. Like, I mean,
Halfway to
there's
Sunday.
times where it's just like, okay, I can either call this dude or I can call her. She can come over with a bottle of and we can just chill and talk about it. And after that, we'll just get out the way and be like, let's decorate my place tomorrow. Let's go paintballing. Like, let's get it out. Like, but that's
real.
real thing.
That's
Like,
real.
it's just like vulnerability. It's
That's real.
okay. And I realized for me, it's just like, it's okay to be vulnerable, but it's just like, who do you invite into that
There you
vulnerability?
go. There you go.
It's either this side
Oh yeah.
or the other.
That's a good point.
And I love that
That's a good
point
point.
because, well, a few points. Like the one thing, Miss Tammy and Don, you echoed it. It was, what love, the question we've been asking in this series, Heavy Love, is what does love require of me? Like Jesus' love, his love comes with this burden, this responsibility. But I love, because this is one of the parts of love. Obviously, love is very much externally focused. We talk about loving one another, our community, our world. But how often do we talk about really loving ourselves and what does that look like? So I love the idea of like, yo, you have to take a step back sometimes and love you and figure out what does that look like for you. And then too, Sean, I love that point of you have people that will either prey on your vulnerability or you have people that will protect your vulnerability. And you need people in your life, same sex and opposite. You know what I'm saying? Like mostly same sex. Like Shun will tell you, because this brother is Superman right here. Amen. Yeah, you are. Yeah, he's Superman. And I'm not, right? I was not Superman. So, but there were many times I would call Shun up and be like, fam, help, pray, preach to me. Just talk, bro. Like, I need help because I really do know in my heart that I'm supposed to go in this direction, but I sense my desires, my needs, my insecurities, my worries leading me into this space.
Right.
So I think that really sums it up good. Did you have any closing thoughts or comments you wanted to make?
There's so many avenues we could go down, and of course we're not going to stay here too much longer tonight. But definitely when the thought about sex, and it's so taboo because it's connected to shame a lot of times, or it's connected to, number one, it's connected to intimacy, so it should not be shared with everyone. But I think that intimacy is replaced with shame a lot of times. So we did want to just touch on, we don't want to go all the way, but just really navigating, like, does the church do a good job with preparing people to navigate sex, not having sex, or just saying don't do it, or kind of, especially when you're single, you're still out here, and like we said, like we have natural wiring God gave us, that if we don't learn, it takes a lot to learn how to navigate that space correctly. So I did want to touch on that briefly. Like, how prepared do you think the church left you as a single person to navigate not having sex, or what happens if you did have sex? How do you bounce back? Like all of that space. Any thoughts on that?
No preparation. I mean, like,
No hesitation.
no. If you haven't learned by now, I'm gonna keep it real. Like, and so one of the things that I learned through reading the Bible and getting close to God is that sex is okay. And yes, it is. He wants us to do it, but he wants us to do it when we're married.
Yeah.
But it's also okay to like sex, or even to have that sexuality.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not dirty. And like, I think the more the church tells us don't do it, it's almost an invitation because it's so much pressure not
Absolutely.
to do it, do it.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, like I'm just getting to the point where I'm like, I can freely be like, you know, somebody might make a sex joke and I'd be like, yeah, and be okay with that because like I know that it's sex, it's real, it's something that is to be desired in the right timing, in the right space. So I'm like, you know, if I'm, you know, to be married, I'm looking forward to it, you know, and I'm not afraid to express that. You know what I'm saying? Like when I get married, let's go. You know, and it makes it easier as a single person. It makes it easier not to call that a need that I need to have right now. Or do things that I need a release. So I need to do X, Y, and Z to get that release because I feel like I'm supposed to have that. So like owning that is a part of, you know, what God gave us, it makes it easier for me to live out a life of, you know, just not having sex. I'm not saying that it's like 100% easier and like it's still hard, but it has made life so much easier just to be free in saying that sex is good.
So you wished you feel like the church kind of in a way mishandles how we approach sex.
I do.
We can tend to make sex seem like it's a little dirty.
It's dirty.
You know
it's
what I
not,
mean?
and yeah, like even I feel like you know, there have been cases even with married people because they were taught for so long not to do it, that they're not able to have sex with their spouses. Because
or
they
do
still,
things creatively.
Because they still.
Hey man.
All right.
Clip is back there. Hey, listen. Hey.
I mean,
It's really late. First of all, disclaimer. These are my sisters. She is my auntie. So just disclaimer, amen? Disclaimer.
But yeah, like, you know, it's a real struggle there because for all their lives they've been taught, don't do it, don't do it. So you've been just even suppressing, you know, sexuality as a whole. It makes it hard to turn that off when you say I do. You know what I mean? And just the church doesn't talk about that. You know, even on that aspect, like when you get married, you know, you should be able to be free with your spouse. They don't even do that. So it's just like, so people are learning on their own, you know, and figuring it out. But that is something that the church should prepare. Or you have cases where with singles, they you tempted and they keep telling you not to do it, but it's just like, it's right here. And then they don't, not to say that they should be doing it, but they don't do it safely because they're hiding it and no one can help them. You know?
Yeah, there's no accountability.
There's no
because
accountability.
there's all this shame on you,
Yeah,
the fact that
yeah.
you did do something and you
Right.
don't have anybody, a relationship secure enough to where if you go to them and say, yo, I did X, Y, and
Right,
Z, like,
right.
you know, we'll talk about this at some point, but like when I nearly cheated on my wife, one of the things that I did was I ran to my brother. And I knew if I came to him, he was going to hold me accountable to the 1000th degree. You know what I'm saying? And you need that. You can't just be ashamed that there's not one person that you can't be more vulnerable with, more naked with than others. You know what I'm saying? Even though me and Shun
Man, I had
maybe not use naked.
I had a Joseph moment.
Amen.
So there was a guy at my job. He was just very nice to look at. Okay.
Easy on the people.
When I tell you I ran from
Yeah,
that
he had muscles.
No.
He was just beautiful, huh?
To me, you
Hey,
know,
go ahead, girl.
I ran from that man for 6 months.
Yes.
And I told a friend, I was like, look,
He was part of his
I don't
wife
know what's going on
in the story.
on the inside, but I'm struggling, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I am struggling. But again, that goes back to community. And then also just being okay, knowing like, all right, you know, it's okay that I'm struggling. Like, I don't have to run toward it, and I can get up out of there
Yeah.
and talk to a friend. Like, having that
Absolutely.
safe space. And it was another Christian that was not going to judge me,
Yeah.
you know, but they were like, okay, what we need to do, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
giving you that
Do
encouragement.
I need to spend more time with you? Do I need to call you? Do I need to pray with you more?
Or just to even say, like, okay, if you're still feeling like that, call me. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Let's
Yeah.
talk about this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think like the church and the church community should be like that, because we should not be a community that's shameful for things that God has given us as a gift.
Yeah.
It's just the proper way, you know, or the way that you should do it and be okay with it.
And not to cut you off, but the reason why I appreciate this perspective so much is because Dawn isn't a church girl. Like you didn't necessarily grow up going to church all the time. So this is a woman who has a fresh outsider perspective on what it's like being in the church culture. And so I think the church should hear what she's saying and say, yo, like, do we need more courage to speak about these types of subjects that are clearly impacting people's lives on a daily basis? And so I'll throw that same question back out to you guys.
Yeah, and I think that, coming from the church and being a part of the church, just growing up in it all my life, I think about that question, because I'm like, well, we are the church, but I understand you're talking about the institution itself. And, I can say that the conversations and just things that you always would hear would be, no, don't have sex. Don't do this. Don't do that. And I agree with Dawn, because I get concerned myself that, if I got married, what my mindset would be about sex, because I heard the don'ts. I know what I've done, outside of marriage. And then it's like, do I see it? Can I see it good? Like God is seeing it good. And I know that that's something I believe, or even just showing just any type of affection. It's okay to show affection. It's okay to do that, have PDA. I think that God will have to really, work with me on that. And, being able to have that space in church, to be able to be freely to talk about it, be very transparent. I feel like a lot of people are not transparent, because I do feel like they might be judged for some of the things that they have been, they've entangled themselves, into. And, with that, you have to have that transparency to be able to hit on those issues, to be able to bring it out.
Yeah.
And say, yeah, it's okay if you have these types of feelings. It's okay to talk about sex, but it is a good thing. And the only reason that God is saying not right now is because he's just trying to protect you.
Yeah.
It's nothing bad. He's just trying to protect you. Yeah. So I think we can, and I say we because I'm part of the body. And, I'm thinking myself now, what can be done to start something so that there is a space to allow, young adults to be able to come and be vulnerable and talk about what is really going on. And let's talk about sex. It's okay. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
I agree. And my heart's beating so fast because this is just such a personal topic for me. I feel like the thing that I've craved the most just from the church and what I've realized, someone that has grown up, I guess for a good portion of my young life in the church, I've just craved relatability to other people. And again, that word, just in order to be relatable yourself or somebody else to you, is to be okay being vulnerable, being honest, completely open. Yeah. And of course I feel like, it's a taboo subject because there's a lot of shame around, sex, and it's, we just don't talk about it. And it's just like, just don't do it and don't ask any questions about it. Just, you're just not supposed to do it. And we can point out, or somebody can point out all the reasons or all the scriptures why, but they won't actually expound on what God is trying to protect you from.
Yeah, that's
And so for me, being someone that's in love with love in the past, it's just like, I just kind of zoom past all of those boundaries. And
I felt a lot of shame out of like, just feeling certain ways about people, just, physicality, sexuality and things like that. And, it led to me, I'm almost 30 years old now and finding myself, with my parents. And last year, it was just such a freeing thing because this is something I've kept like, for me, I sat in front of my parents and I was just like, I didn't feel brave enough to say, Mom and Dad, like I had sex and, I got pregnant and Mom and Dad, I had an abortion, and here I am almost 30 years old and something that has just I didn't realize how much it really impacted me, and sitting here, just realizing like I have to really free myself of this because it's not my freedom from this. It's not just for me. It's for somebody else, and we don't realize how impactful like our experiences. And even so, I don't fault anybody. I don't blame anybody, but I do say from my experience, yes, I would say growing up and being in that, I did feel very failed, like just by the church, by, not any one person in particular, but it was just like, I just felt a whole bunch of shame just around the whole subject, And so, I absolutely feel like, Jesus himself, like made himself the lowest of the low, made himself relatable, became human for God, just to, show people like, I love you. Like there's salvation, there's hope, there's grace. You know what I mean? Yes. And so it's just like, you think about that and it's just like, why don't we extend that in any and every area, especially one such as deep as this, because
we struggle receiving it for ourselves.
And so I absolutely feel that we definitely have a mandate, because even now in today's world, it's just like everything is sexualized. Something comes up and it's a darn Chanel No. 5 commercial, and people are like, like, and it's like, jeez, or it's heavy, like
it could be fast food.
Chanel's probably more like
sex up in the golden arches.
Got the water, like what? It's in front of us. It's in front of us. So for me, for my sister, not even for the people, like I just at any point, it's freeing to be able to say, like, I haven't said that to many people, much less on camera. But I'm
sitting here like, wow, girl, you are so brave and courageous.
Hey, bless God. It's just like therapy is everything. And like, especially when it's direct and just like, trusting God and really being like, God, like God can turn anything and everything for the greater good.
Yes,
That's right.
And so it's not even a thing of embarrassment or shame anymore. It's just like I would love to sit here and be like, you got questions about what you want to know? Like, I want to sit down and be like, I still every single day. It's like once you do it, it's not like I'm not sitting here looking at people like, well, he doesn't.
And that's the thing. There are a lot of ladies, and there are a lot of young ladies. Like, I mean, the average. I think they're saying the average age where sexual activity is taking place is between the age of 12 and 13. It's not even. It used to be 16 and 17.
Absolutely.
Now it's 12 and 13. So there are so many young ladies who need to hear your story. They need to hear, and that's why it's never a failure when God can bring glory out of it. Like, oh man, I just want to preach so bad, man. But I just thank you for being honest. Thank you for being courageous, all of you, and especially you, Sean. Like, I just know that, like, I was feeling you with that. Like, I was in tune with you, and I just know that. But I also know the feeling of, like, release, because that's how you know you're free from something, when you can actually talk about it. And that's when other people can get free, because now you're talking about it. Right. Now you're testifying of God's goodness and his grace. So, man, Brother Shun, do you want to wrap us up?
Sure. I think there's just such beauty in this conversation we had. The thing that I'm feeling is like, man, it was a scripture we were going through for a sermon I was prepping, and it was in Romans 12, and it was just talking about how we feel joy when others feel joy. We feel pain when others feel pain. We share our money to have compassion, but we belong to each other. And I think the thing that's so easy to forget is we all have struggles. And we can so easily forget, especially as men, like to look at our sisters in Christ and be like, oh, what's going on? Not just, oh, I'm trying to holler, or I'm not trying to holler, so forget you. But like, oh, what's going on? What is going
real.
on with you?
Yeah.
What support can I offer as a brother? And I think this has just shown me like the need for compassion and connection in a biblical sense. You know what I'm saying? Just in terms of like, no, this is my sister. She should know that there's people of both sexes, and of course, being a man, there's a man who can offer himself as a brother in Christ. And what
Yeah.
does that look like? So I just thank you, ladies, so much for being here, and everyone who watches this too, just to know like this conversation has so much to it. And I'm just happy we were able to begin it here tonight. Hopefully you can continue it wherever, and we can continue as well. But this was definitely a blessing. I know maybe it is our custom to pray out, but before we do that, any other closing thoughts from you guys? And then we will give Rodney the mic fearfully, but we will give it to you.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Are we good?
Okay.
Thank you guys so much again, Brother Rodney.
Right now, no, Lord, thank you. Thank you for your goodness. Thank you for these lovely people that are here today. We thank you for this conversation. We pray that God, that somebody's right now, they're listening to this, they're watching this, and their soul is being encouraged. Hope is being received in Jesus' name. And God, we just pray that as we continue on with this segment, these segments of Halfway to Sunday, that we would just be an encouragement to people, that we would just be real people walking out a real faith and real community. And so we love you. We give you thanks. We give you praise. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.